Good afternoon. This is Tom Katzenmeyer, the CEO of the Greater Columbus Arts Council. I'm here today to introduce and interview Caeleigh Featherstone. But before I start on that, I want to thank Reese Brothers Productions, my good friends Michael and Jim Reese for hosting this, and Nicolette Swift from Nicolette Cinematographics, who's producing this event for us today. This is one of a series of artist interviews that's happening, and I'm just happy to be here. We have such a great program for you today, and this one's going to be so particularly interesting. Caeleigh is a musician and artist based in Columbus, Ohio, and she has a rare combination of both as an artist and a musician. She's been a member of Saint Seneca, a Columbus-based band, since 2018 and has toured internationally. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. She's recorded on the 2018 album Pillar of Na, which received acclaimed reviews from multiple publications. She's played music since she was a child. Her mother was a professional violin player and teacher. Her new solo project, Mucus, is 1.5 years old and named after what she used to call music as a kid. And we're going to get to that too, because there's a funny story behind it. She's about to launch a 5-song EP on June 18th. She's self-releasing that. We're going to hear some music from that as part of today's program also. So with that, I'd like to introduce everybody to Caeleigh Featherstone. There you go. Thanks for being with us today, Caeleigh.
Hi.
So, hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We're going to start at the beginning with you because I can't make this up, that you were actually home birthed in a log cabin in the hills of Vermont, which I think is incredibly fascinating. But you grew up in Apple Creek, Ohio, up in Amish country. You went to Delaware Hayes High School in Delaware. I just want you to talk a little bit about that whole period of your life. I know you won some awards at the Delaware Arts Festival. So let's just talk about that for a moment. Then we're going to dig a little bit further.
Yeah. So Delaware Hayes had, I don't know if it still has, a really good music program. So I was involved in the arts there and did a lot of musical theater, choir ensemble and stuff like that. And then was also in the pro art program, which is they have like an avenue for kids who want to take more art classes, and got really into watercolor painting, and then ended up winning 2 Best of Show awards for 2 different paintings in the Delaware Arts Fair when I was a senior in high school, which is really cool.
That's great. I meant to tell everyone that you're broadcasting from your attic in Old Town East, and we're actually looking at some of your artwork behind you there, which is spectacular, and I love the color in it. So thank you for showing that to us today. So after Delaware Hayes High School, you went into AmeriCorps. We had a great conversation about that, and you were in a program called NCCC, which was the National Civilian Community Corps, I think is what it's called. So I want to hear a little bit about that, because I know this had a great influence on your life.
Yeah. So my family encouraged all 3 kids to do something different besides just going straight into college. So I chose to go into NCCC because it was far away. I was stationed in California, and it's a program that travels as well. So I was in Louisiana for a little while, like refurbishing houses after Katrina. And then I ended up working as a firefighter in Northern California, and then getting a job with the Forest Service after that because of the engine captain being from Ohio. So he hooked me up with a job. But then I came back to Columbus and went to Columbus State because I was had grant money from NCCC, which is one of the coolest things that AmeriCorps does. Is they give you money to go to school as one of their big incentives for volunteering for them. So it's a year-long volunteer program, and so you get a year's worth of tuition out of it.
That's great. We need more of that.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit more about being a firefighter. I've never met anyone that was a firefighter before. And were you into that, or was it
Yeah, I
heavy
super
labor?
loved it.
Yeah.
It was it's really fun work because you're outdoors and you're around trees and you're hiking up mountains, and it paid really well too. Like if it wasn't in California, I would probably have continued to do that work for a long time, but I was being pulled back to Columbus is the only reason why I came back. And then I've been here ever since,
That's
working on
great.
art.
Otherwise, you'd be a firefighter, I guess. Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
So you are a full-time artist, which I love to hear that, and you're hopefully prospering here in Columbus. We're going to talk about the impact of the pandemic a little bit, but in addition to playing music, which I think is most of your income, you also tend bar on the
Yeah,
side, and I think this is what a lot of artists do. Um, you have to put a couple things together, and that's how you make your living, but it allows you time to practice your art.
absolutely. That's the most important thing for me is I kind of decided a while back that I didn't want to work a job where I wasn't able to also practice my art on the side. And since making that decision, it's allowed me to make choices like joining St. Seneca and being able to tour with them. And it is super fulfilling to be able to work on my art and make it. And then I'm happy to come back and bartend and take care of my needs in that way as long as I can work on what I want to work on.
That's great. Tell us a little bit about Saint Seneca and how you joined that band, what kind of music, what instrument you're
Yeah.
playing.
Um, so I actually went on a tour with them in 2017 because the Marin, who I replaced eventually, couldn't make that tour. And then kind of that way is how I started playing with them. I play bass and sing, and then ended up joining the band and recording on Pillar of Gnaw, which came out in 2018. And then we toured on that a bunch and ended up, I did my first European tour with them, which was exciting.
That's great. That's great. So you are self-releasing a 5-song EP on June 18th, and I want you
Yeah.
to talk to us about that. You released the first song. We're going to hear a little bit of music from that. It's called Switzerland. You released it on Mother's Day. Your mom is on that song with
Hmm.
you. We have to hear about that. But like in the music world, how do you self-release? What is that? Talk to us about what that means, how difficult that is, how challenging that is, and really you're putting your music out there for anybody to listen to,
Right.
basically for free, you
I
know?
think it is challenging if you want to do all of the bells and whistles of like trying to apply to be on different playlists and like getting people to represent you and getting written up in publications. But the cool thing about music right now is that you can self-release very easily. There's a lot of avenues to just make your music and put it out in the world. There's just not a lot of avenues for getting it heard and then translating it into money. Um, so it's just a weird time for music. It's been weird for a while. As a musician, most of your money is made from touring and from like selling t-shirts. Like we joke around in St. Seneca a lot that a lot of being a band is being like a retailer, like a clothing retailer,
Hmm.
because music now is just like it's just available. And you put all of this time and energy and sometimes money and heart into making a song, and then it's just out there. And that's great. It's great. And then it's out there. Everyone can just have it for
Right.
free. So
To
it's kind of like a catch 22.
did to self-release, did you have to find like a label? I mean, there must have been a studio some
No,
or
so
yeah, how does
there's
this work? Yeah.
there's a lot of sites that help you publish on streaming. So I'm using one of those sites, and I'm my own label. There are also like a handful of people in Columbus and the Columbus scene that are labels and will produce small runs of things like tapes and CDs. but it all just costs a lot of money to produce a physical object. So that's why I'm not going that route this round, and why I made a Kickstarter to try and I focused pretty much on making the best possible songs I could make, and I put all of my money into that. And then the Kickstarter is to just help promote it and to have a place where I can try and make some money if it's possible
Right.
to. But
So let's talk about that Kickstarter campaign, and we'll come back to that at the end again too. But so tell us what you have out there and how it's going and why just you
yeah,
decided to use that.
it was recommended by a few friends. There's a lot of bands now, instead of going through a label, because if the music pie is already kind of small, when you add in a label and a publicist and a manager and all these people, it just gets a lot smaller. So a lot of bigger bands are going to the route of doing Kickstarter releases, where you can kind of figure out who wants what and how much of it, and get your music and art supported that way before you make everything. So that was kind of the thought behind it, is, well, I don't have a lot of money, so maybe if I can do this, I can get the money to make the stuff before I make it, and then double use it as promotion.
And how much is the campaign for, and tell us how it's going so far.
So it's for 2000, which is around what I spent on making the music. And I released the Kickstarter yesterday and it's already half funded, which is really cool and really shocking. I actually set the Kickstarter at 500 originally, because if it doesn't get fulfilled, it doesn't get backed. And I was really scared of it not getting backed. And my friend called me and told me I should probably set it
Good for
higher. I'm
your
really
friends.
glad I did.
Yes, good for your friends. We're going to help you get
Yeah.
over that 2000 today. Trust me on that. So we're going to take a break here because, as the listening audience knows, there's a trivia contest as part of this.
Yes.
Earlier this week, Matt Yoho won a $25 gift certificate from North Star. That was on Tuesday. So Caeleigh has a question for us, and the winner who gets this is going to get a $25 gift card from Locks, which is a fabulous bagel store in the short north, right off of High Street next to Piece of Cake. So Caeleigh, what's your question for our audience?
What is John Denver's original last name before he changed it because it didn't fit on a marquee?
That is a great question. So, and as I said, I don't know the answer to that one. So we'll go back to the discussion here. Um, so this word mucus, I want to go to that.
Yeah.
That's the name of this project, right?
Yeah.
Mucus. Yeah. So it's what you used to call music as a kid, I
Yeah.
guess. So that's the story behind it. But tell us a little bit about that.
Um, yeah, so according to lore of my parents, I used to ask them to play the mucus all the time. And there's a little poem that's in a scrapbook that my mom made that I wrote probably when I was learning how to write. And it says, "Mucus, oh mucus, how I love the sounds." So I have super loved music my whole life. And I'm probably a little dyslexic. My sister actually came up with the spelling, the KISS,
Yes.
and helped me name my solo act. We just thought it was really fitting. It's very personal. My music is very personal. And so it just kind of made sense.
It's great. It's just a great story. I love it. Um, I want to talk a little bit about life in the pandemic here. So you, pretty tenacious young woman there, and I know you've really pursued options for funding when your business income has dried up. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, and I hope we can inspire some other artists to follow your course here.
Yeah. Well, I immediately hit the ground running applying for grants. Um, Actually, Adam, who was on your show recently, he's a really big influence for me in what we call the hustle. He's helped me. He helped me apply for my first grant from GCAC. and kind of got me like those muscles growing. So when this first hit, my biggest concern was, well, we don't know how long this is going to last, and all of our shows are getting canceled, and I don't know when even bartending will come back. So I just kind of spent every day a few hours sitting down and applying for grants, and I got one from GCAC and from a few other places, including Music Cares, which is the Emmys Foundation for Artist Relief. And I kept joking that I was waiting for my Emmy in the mail. So that was a big fun time here in quarantine.
That is actually quite impressive. And I think this notion of the hustle is important
Yeah.
in the world that you're in. And hopefully others listening to this, it'll fire them up. And it helps to have mentors and people out there that influence you. I know you have derived great influence from your family. Your mom is a professional violin player.
Yeah.
And have you played the violin yourself?
I have, yeah, for my whole childhood, pretty much. I played violin until I stepped on it, which is really sad. I don't think I did it on purpose, but I might have. I was a kid, and my mom was my violin teacher.
Oh no, man! You stepped on your violin. Oh geez.
But she comes from a long line of incredible violin players. My aunt plays in the United States Symphony, and her mom and her other sister all play violin. So we all kind of like were indoctrinated in the world of violin out of the gate, which I'm super grateful for now. I wish that I had stuck with it.
Yeah. And what do you play now?
Now I primarily play bass and guitar. Before that, really piano, keys were my strongest instrument, but that's grown since joining St. Seneca. I started playing bass when I joined that band, so that was kind of a big growing point for me.
That's great. And you mentioned Adam Hernandez. Is he involved in your current project too? Is he doing some work with you?
He is making a video for me. He's doing an animation for one of the songs that is going to come out on the EP on June 18th.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I had this whole concept in mind, and the only artist that was perfect for it was Adam. And I'm so excited that he was down to do it. It's going to be really cool.
That
So
is
keep an eye out
great.
for that.
That is great. We're going to go back and repeat the trivia question one more time for our audience. So I'll turn that back to you.
What is John Denver's original last name?
Excellent. There you go. You've heard it twice now. So we're going to begin to wrap up here, but I kind of want to ask you what's next. Obviously, you've got your total focus is on Switzerland and the other songs on your EP. So however you would like to plug that, we'd like to do that right now. Again, we can follow you, I know, on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
How do we do that? Tell us how we do that.
Instagram is probably the best place to follow me. It's at Mucus Music. And you can also follow me on Spotify. So anything that gets released, you'll be notified about. And the album itself comes out June 18th. And I'll be doing a live stream show of that, which you'll be able to get information about that on my Instagram as well. Instagram is the spot.
That's great. Well, hopefully we can help you blow through this low limit that you put on the Kickstarter campaign with this show today. Anything else you'd like to say? We're going to wrap up here, and I believe that you are going to go out singing for us.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. I wish you well. It's been great to do this with you today.
Yeah, thank you so much,
I wish
Tom.
you well with Kickstarter and this EP that you're doing and the song Switzerland. I'll turn it over to you. Yeah.
All right. All right, this is Switzerland off of my upcoming EP called Happy Face. Thank you so much. Bright green, yes, plenty of life in the sea. Purple steamy blue dream, yellow spot on a red square. Coral house on mossy ground, I'd do anything just to be there. Oh, I'd do anything just to be there. How many times on this train ride did I think to myself, this beauty just ain't right? And how I wish that you were here with me, 'cause I like you best. But these views are cruel to hold me to, in a wind like a vest. Ooh, 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 bright green, yellow grass, pale pink geometry, dirty white, red stripes. There's plenty of life in the sea. Purple steamy blue dream, yellow spot on a red square. Coral house on mossy ground, and how the wind howls just to be there. And how the wind howls just to be there. Finally the night's behind me, no it's true. I went down to the lake, I drank the moon up just for you. Sipped it in, walked up and turned around, spit it back into the night. My little nickel's got a piece of me cradled in the sky. Ooh, 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 and how the winds howl just to be there. Now the winds whine just to be mine. And how the